After making notable strides in speeding up the process of registering new businesses in Nigeria, the Corporate Affairs Commission, which was established under the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 1990, has faced some recent pushback from lawyers and entrepreneurs who have complained about recent requirements laid out by the Commission. Now, one of those requirements is consent from the Registrar General for name reservations under Part C, Incorporated Trustees of the Companies and Allied Matters Act. Joining me from our Abuja studio to discuss this, as well as how the CAC is operating during the COVID-19 pandemic and a response to our previous segment on the morning show, is Alhaji Garba Abubakar, the Registrar General and CEO of the Corporate Affairs Commission. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on the Global Business Report. So on July 23rd, some lawyers protested at the CAC building in Abuja. One of the reasons for the protest is a notice that you put out stating that as of July the 8th, applications for name reservations under Part C, Incorporated Trustees, must get consent from you, the Registrar General. They said that this will slow things down. How do you respond to that?
The protest was not as a result of the policy on consent for Part C, because that had already come into effect. The protest was about the mailing system that was introduced by the Commission. As you may know, we have the responsibility to register companies, business names, and incorporated trustees. Our operations have been decentralized. We register in every state of the Federation. We issue certificates in those states. But because of the COVID-19 pandemic, federal government has issued guidelines restricting the number of officers that are allowed to be in the office. Until Friday last week, only level 14 officers and above were allowed to come to the office. And out of a total workforce of 1,300, we have 750 that work in the head office. Of the 750, only 102 qualified as level 14 and above. So you can imagine having only 104 officers attending to over 2,000 applications on a daily basis. So we had to sit down and say, look, how can we better serve our customers? The challenge of attending to 600 customers on a daily basis, we cannot continue with that, because that actually breaches the regulation on social distancing. And we have a responsibility to safeguard the health and safety of our staff. So we now said, look, let's introduce a mailing system where when applications are submitted online, after the applications are approved and a certificate is printed, instead of allowing 600 customers to come to your office and collect these certificates, we'll give these certificates to designated courier companies to deliver to the customers. And that has addressed the challenge of delays in delivering these certificates. Because of the restriction on working hours, up to last week, we're only working from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can imagine having to attend to 600 customers from 9 a.m. to 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And they're not just coming to collect certificates. Customers are coming for other transactions like change of directors, filing of returns, and other things. So we couldn't have continued in that manner. And globally, registries don't have interface with customers. It's either you use an electronic medium, end-to-end, or you do mailing system. For us in CAC, the electronic solution is still under development. As we speak, the digitization only covers about 50% of our operations. We are working assiduously to ensure that the whole digitization is completed before the end of this year. On the issue of name consent, this only applies to associations to be registered under Part C of the Companies and Allied Matters Act. There have been concerns about proliferation of organizations whose activities endangers national security. And we can't just continue registering all manner of associations that will become a threat to the security of this country. And in the past, most of the people making this agitation didn't even know the system before 2003. In the past, for every association that will be registered under Part C, when the application is filed with the Commission, copies of this application, together with the details of the trustees and the objectives, are referred to relevant security organizations for vet. The process used to take about 1 year to 2 years for the vetting process to be completed. CAC dispensed with that requirement in 2004 because of concerns about delays. In its place, we introduced statutory declaration by the trustees that they are of good character, that they have not been convicted for any offense, in the last 5 years involving fraud, that they are not insane, that they are not bankrupt, and what have you. So that was the measure that was introduced around 2004 to speed up the registration process. But after we now analyze the impact of that vis-a-vis the security situation in the country, we couldn't just do any more than to insist that all applications under Part C must undergo consent. Because we don't register political movements in CAC. You will see applications cloud with all manner of objects. Behind it, there may be things that may have certain implications. So we decided that this only applies to application under Part C. We decided that, look, it's either we restore the old system of security vetting with all the challenges and the delays, or we introduce a consent requirement where customers will front-load the objectives and the particulars of the trustees. And the consent process has to come to the level of the Registrar General, the RG that gives consent for such names. And we may decide at the level of consent whether to refer that application to the security agencies or to go ahead and allow the name. The level of scrutiny at a lower level, because our approving officers at a lower level can approve names for companies, for business names, and as well as incorporated trustees. But the level of scrutiny at lower level, and particularly where the objectives are not even known at the point when this name is being reserved, is difficult. So, but at the level of consent, the applicant has to front-load the objectives for which this association is being established. And we'll look at it. If the objectives are okay, they won't have any implication to national security, or where the name is okay, then we can go ahead and register. I don't want to give examples of names that were registered mistakenly in the past, and we are facing such challenges with some of these names. So these are measures that were introduced in the national interest.
Fantastic.
It's not motivated by the need for any. Yes. Yes.
Fair point, sir. Yes. Very in-depth answer. Okay, I want to take you now to some good news. The President Buhari has, signed the amended Company and Allied Matters Act, under which, the commission was, established for the 1990. This is updated to 2020. Can you take us through the benefits that, entrepreneurs who are registering businesses are going to enjoy with what has been signed, this Landmark Act by the President?
Thank you so much. The new law has 870 provisions, as against 612 in the repealed act. And out of the new provisions, 167 are completely new, while 91 modified the existing sections of the former law. There are so many benefits, particularly for small and medium entrepreneurs. One of the major hitches we had to do with the right of access to CAC services. Until now, for any company to be registered, the law requires that a legal practitioner must review the documents and depose to a declaration that the requirement of the law has been complied with before that company is registered. That has been dispensed with because it's actually inconsistent with the ease of doing business principles of the government. In any case, there is nothing legal at the company formation process. The legal work will come after the company has come into existence. The second issue relates to the minimum number of persons you can have in a company. Until now, to register a limited liability company, you require a minimum of 2 shareholders and 2 directors. The new law has introduced the concept of one-man company. So one individual can register his own company, and it will have limited liability status, and it will have separate legal existence from the owner. We also have new legal entity types, like limited partnerships and limited liability partnerships. Then, as it relates to Code of Corporate Governance, we have a new provision that makes it mandatory for public companies to have minimum of 3 independent directors. This will ensure checks and balances in these companies. We also have a robust framework for incorporated trustees. The law under the old act was very scanty, was merely what we had in the Land Perpetuation Succession Act. So we have very robust provisions governing incorporated trustees with powers of CAC to even suspend trustees. And there is greater disclosure now on the activities of these trustees relating to their income, and they have a duty to audit their accounts every year. And as we said, for incorporated trustees, they are actually established not for profit.
Alhaji, Alhaji, we have to have you back on the show. Thank you so much. We've unfortunately run out of time, but I thank you for, stating your case and also giving us the information on how SMEs will benefit from this landmark act that President Buhari has signed. Thank you so much for your time. We've been speaking with Alhaji Garba Abubakar, Registrar General, CEO of the Corporate Affairs Commission.